Welcome to the Explainer. Let's jump right in, shall we? Today, we're taking a pretty fascinating journey into the microscopic building blocks of plants and animals. If you've ever looked up at a massive oak tree, or honestly just looked down at your own hands and wondered how it all actually works on a structural level, well, you're absolutely in the right place. We're going to decode the architecture of life itself. So, to understand our own complexity, we kind of have to start simple. Consider the amoeba. It's a unicellular organism. That means a single cell literally has to do it all. It handles movement, taking in food, gaseous exchange, excretion, the whole shebang. It's essentially a one-cell band. But in multicellular organisms, like you, me, or those trees outside, there are millions, even billions of cells. So how do complex life forms manage so many intricate tasks compared to that simple amoeba? Well, the secret is teamwork. And that teamwork brings us to our core concept for today's explainer. A tissue is basically a cluster of cells arranged and designed to give the highest possible efficiency of a particular function. Notice that key word there, efficiency. When cells group together to form a tissue, they stop trying to do absolutely everything. Instead, they focus on doing one specific thing incredibly well. Here's our quick roadmap for the explainer so you know exactly where we're heading. 1. The division of labor. 2. Plants versus animals. 3. The plant toolkit. 4. The animal machine. And 5. The master communicators. Okay, let's get started. Section 1. The division of labor. From solo workers to massive factories. I want you to think of a multicellular organism not just as a single entity, but as a massive, highly efficient factory. In this biological factory, life is driven by what we call a division of labor, where specialized departments handle specific tasks. Think about it. If every single cell tried to digest food, pump blood, and flex a muscle all at the exact same time, it would be total chaos. Instead, in us humans, muscle cells contract and relax to cause movement. Nerve cells carry messages, blood flows to transport oxygen, food, and waste. By clumping together into specialized tissues at definite places in the body, life pulls off this macro to micro division of labor that is just unbelievably efficient. Moving on to Section 2, plants versus animals, the great biological divide. Now, while both plants and animals use tissues, their tissues tell entirely different evolutionary stories, and it's all based on form meeting function. Think about plants. They're stationary, right? They are fixed in place and don't move. But because they have to stand up right against gravity, they require a massive amount of structural support. And interestingly enough, that supportive tissue often consists of dead cells. Plus, their growth is limited to very specific localized regions. Animals, on the flip side, are mobile. We move around, searching for food, mates, shelter. Because of that, we consume way more energy, so the vast majority of our tissues are actually living cells. And our cell growth is uniform. You don't see those strict boundaries between dividing and non-dividing regions like you do in a plant.
That brings us to Section 3, the plant toolkit, building stationary giants.
Let's dive into the actual tools plants use to grow and support themselves without ever taking a single step. Plants basically have two main categories of tissues. First, we've got meristematic tissue. These are the actively dividing cells. And this brilliantly shows how plants grow. They literally only grow in specific spots. Apical meristems are at the growing tips of stems and roots, making the plant taller. Lateral meristems increase the plant's girth or width. And intercalary meristems are located right near the nodes. But you know, what happens when these cells mature? Well, they take up a specific role, they lose their ability to divide, and they transform into our second category, permanent tissue. Now, zooming in on those permanent tissues, plants have what we call simple permanent tissues, which are made up of just one type of cell. Let's break them down real quick. Parenchyma cells are living, loosely arranged, and they act kind of like the plant's pantry. They store food. Then you've got collenchyma tissue. It's living too, but think of it as the gymnast of the plant world. It allows parts like tendrils and stems to bend in the wind without snapping. Finally, we have sclerenchyma. These are actually dead cells with heavily thickened walls, and they provide hard, stiff, mechanical support to the whole plant. And if you want a perfect, tangible, real-world example of sclerenchyma, just picture a coconut. The tissue that makes up its hard outer husk, that is pure sclerenchyma. Those dense, dead, highly thickened cells are what provide that incredible strength and protection. Of course, beyond simple tissues, plants also have complex, permanent tissues. This is essentially the plant's plumbing system, made of more than one type of cell working together. Xylem transports water and minerals vertically.
straight up from the roots. It relies heavily on dead tubular structures. Phloem, on the other hand, relies mostly on living cells. Its job is to transport the food made during photosynthesis from the leaves out to all the other parts of the plant. Together, these two create the vascular bundle that allows terrestrial plants to actually survive.
All right, Section 4, the animal machine, built for high-speed energy and movement.
So, pivoting completely away from stationary plants, let's look at our own high-energy world of active locomotion. The animal machine is built on 4 major tissue categories. Number 1 is epithelial tissue. I want you to think of this as the security wall of the body. It covers most organs and cavities, creating a continuous barrier. Your skin, the lining of your mouth, the lining of your blood vessels, they're all made of tightly packed epithelial cells with almost no intercellular spaces. Anything entering or leaving the body has to cross this selectively permeable barrier, which is absolutely crucial for regulating what goes in and what goes out.
Next up is connective tissue. And honestly, there is a pretty mind-blowing paradox here. Bone is a connective tissue, blood is a connective tissue. Visually, physically, they couldn't be more totally different, right? One is rock hard, the other's a liquid, but they do the exact same fundamental job. Their cells are loosely spaced and embedded in an intercellular matrix to connect, support, and transport things all around your body.
The real secret to these connective tissues is all about their matrix. Let's group them up really fast. First, you have your structural and transport tissues. Blood has a fluid matrix called plasma for moving gases and nutrients, while bone relies on a hard matrix of calcium and phosphorus to build your skeleton. Then, you've got the connectors. Ligaments are highly elastic and connect bone to bone, while tendons are fibrous and connect your muscles to your bones. Next is cartilage. It has a solid matrix of proteins and sugars that smoothens out your joints. It's what makes up the flexible parts of your ears and nose. And finally, if you've ever wondered where your body stores its insulation, that's adipose tissue, which stores fat globules, while areolar tissue acts like packing material, filling the empty spaces inside your organs. Our third animal tissue is muscular tissue, and this comes in 3 very specialized flavors. First, we have striated muscles. These are voluntary, meaning you move them by conscious will, like lifting your arm. They're long, cylindrical, and multinucleate. Then we have smooth muscles. These are involuntary, spindle-shaped cells that control the stuff you don't even have to think about, like pushing food through your digestive tract. And finally, cardiac muscles. These involuntary branched cells are found exclusively in your heart, and they just rhythmically contract and relax for your entire life without ever taking a single break. Pretty amazing. Which brings us to our final section, Section 5, the master communicators, the rapid-fire network of survival. So how do our muscles actually know when to move? Well, that brings us to nervous tissue. Your brain, your spinal cord, your nerves, they are all composed of nervous tissue. And the fundamental unit here is the neuron. A neuron is a highly specialized cell made up of a cell body, a long fiber called an axon, and these short branched parts called dendrites. And get this, an individual nerve cell can literally be up to 1 meter long. They're exquisitely designed to receive stimuli and transmit them at lightning speed from one place to another. Let's map out exactly how that action sequence works. When a stimulus happens, the signal hits the dendrite of the neuron. From there, it travels right into the cell body, then that impulse races down the long axon until it hits the nerve ending, where it basically jumps to the dendrite of the very next neuron. This combination, nerve impulses directly telling muscle tissue what to do, is absolutely fundamental to animal survival. It's what allows us to react instantly to our environment. It's the reason you can pull your hand away from a hot stove in a fraction of a second or sprint away from danger. And that brings us to our final thought for this explainer. We've seen how cells completely sacrifice their independence to build these highly efficient tissues, whether it's the dead sclerenchyma propping up a massive tree or the rapid-fire neurons firing in your own brain right this very second. So I want to leave you with this. If our entire existence and survival totally rely on this invisible, microscopic teamwork, what other unseen biological factories are operating inside of us right now? Keep questioning, keep learning, and thank you so much for joining me to demystify the architecture of life.